Talking about you got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, the min click specialist. What's poppin', Jesse Sylvia?
Wow, you can't be calling me specialist, man. I'm already getting kicked out of min click games. I don't even know how to play.
You're just a guy that knows how to put some bets in.
My apologies. The min click recreational.
There we go.
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
MCR. That's what we call you from now on.
MCR.
My Chemical Romance.
Wow.
Great band. There's no Steelers blanket today. It's me and Jesse. This is Patriots season.
Wow, let's go.
Look, I took the Steelers thing away.
I like Landon so much.
Hey, man, the Dolphins have a chance this year. The Patriots have no chance.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Extremely. We have a great chance to get a high pick.
That is true.
We're doing great.
Yeah.
In what matters most.
You saw Belichick just
He's leaving.
agreed to be the head coach of UNC.
Did he agree
Really?
to it in talks?
Nope.
Wow.
Signed the contract today.
It's over.
I didn't see how many years, but
That's interesting.
it's been reported. I don't know what that means.
Ever
as far
since
as,
Tom
like-
Brady left, all downhill.
Billy is cooked.
Nah, I
Billy's
mean,
cooked.
maybe. Bro, I don't know. He's dating like
He's got a rich
22-year-old models.
Yeah, he's
He's life uncooked. But is
Wait,
he
was
really
that-
dating 22-year-old models?
Yeah, she's so hot.
all right.
They were taking like holiday pictures at the beach. It was very hilarious. Was that article today? I swear I saw something that said sources.
60 minutes ago.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's not confirmed yet, but I thought I saw something that said
I saw that they were in talks.
he had agreed
Yeah, I don't see anything that's
to a
says he's
contract.
agreed.
If you're this is kind of an odd question, but if you're the father of the girl who's dating Bill Belichick,
Mhm.
but you're from New England,
Right. You're happy about it.
yeah, I feel like you're net happy, but that's got to be a very
No, you're happy.
weird feeling.
I might be exaggerating about 22. She looks like she's like 32.
Oh, we don't actually know.
But
her
I
age.
might, well, I was really of the impression she was young 20s. I might be like,
He's 72.
yeah, he's an old man.
Wow.
Don't you remember his last season for the Patriots? He got caught like on a ring cam walking out of like some girl's house at 8 a.m. Billy Fox, bro.
The best part about it is when they told him not to bring it up. Wait, was that Belichick? Oh, yeah. That was Belichick coming out of that, and then Kraft came out of the...
Oh, the massage. Yeah, that was two totally different incidences that
Yeah.
have nothing to do with one another.
Well,
Bill
I mean,
feels like the kind of guy that like Gronk takes to one of his Boston parties,
Right.
to get him back in the game, and then Bill ends up showing him a thing or two.
A lot of different deflated balls up there in New England.
Oh no,
Many-
no, can't make that joke. I mean, yeah, you can make that joke.
a good one.
It's fine.
It's 2024, Landon. We can't be talking about deflated balls, all right?
Hey, man.
No, it's Trump's America. We're back, baby. You can talk about whatever balls you want.
That's true.
We're so back.
I forget. Oh, Markus texted me today. He goes, I've been getting fat shamed so much over the last 3 days. I have to put an end to it. And I go, yeah, you're way too rich and have way too much time on your hand to allow yourself to get out of hand like this. And he goes, 2024 Trump America, man. I didn't think fat shaming was going to come back. Like never saw it coming. But here we are. Here we are, back in the saddle again.
I have to give it to you. You took all the needles like a champ yesterday.
Brother, I was getting paid to get needled. It was okay.
No, but like I've played in games where I'm getting the shit needled out of me, and it's like I feel like there's a line where you actually need to like kind of push back a little bit, or else it gets like angry and aggressive.
Yeah.
And you're very good at finding that line, and that's when you say something that's like, hey, back it up a little bit. And that's very important, I feel like, to understand that line, because if you let it get too far, it gets really
Otherwise, you might crash out.
yeah
You might crash.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that there was anybody in that game who was going to rub me the wrong way. I was kind of having a little bit, maybe too much fun at Justin's demise. I
my God, you guys gave it to each other.
I like went out of my way to say like I have no empathy for anyone, even though we're friends off the felt, because like we're literally here to take each other's money. But then I did him dirty in like such a way that it was like kind of hard not to remember what it feels like to be on the other side of that. Like I've been in that spot where
Wait,
it's like,
what do you mean? What happened?
You know, you just find yourself in a must-win pot where you're playing a really volatile game where you're gonna be all in a lot,
situation.
and you just have aces, and some asshole puts 50K in, 60K, and 70K in with tens,
Maybe
and
you
then
should have
just
flatted.
drills it. When would I have flatted?
Just making a niche joke
Well,
to you about the
The irony was, after the hand, to give him a subtle jab, I go, man, I should have just called pre. He goes, what? Why? I go, well, I would have flopped the 10 and you wouldn't have been able to chop.
What would be the
But I guess you just do it the hard way.
Nice.
Likely
That's a good needle.
going with the small
Landon, that was a
four
good
bet.
joke that went under the
But this
radar.
3-bet's so
because-
large.
the deflated thing.
Inflated balls?
Yeah, that also. I meant the tens, but yeah, that's a.
Wait, what was funny about the 10s?
Berkey
We
immediately
heard
piled
this
in.
entire argument off podcast.
Oh, yeah, see, like, that stuff gone.
For you,
I mean, that was way too subtle.
that was for Jesse.
Yeah, okay.
Just like that, we have 140.
As was the-
Well, much like
Yeah.
you believed, small blind versus button, 2 10s in the middle.
Send it in.
Get it in, send it in. We don't have to watch the whole clip.
Are you sure? This is a very
long.
epic gamer moment.
I kind of want to watch it.
This is. I didn't get to see it. I was busy in the background playing the Prime and then bubbling.
Are we?
Yes.
Are our mics hot right now?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Because talking over my
Wow.
solo commentary is a good call.
I don't think you had to say much, to be honest. I
No, it
think
was great.
Justin and I were doing all the heavy lifting in this one.
Markus was in the mix too, but then he got tired. I imagine whatever Peter was saying was great, but I have no idea what it was.
Yeah.
I bet he had some hateful things to say about you.
There was a hand at the end where Schwan, Peter either like donk led or check raised on Queen 10, Jack 10 or something
You're
like
talking
that.
about when she jammed King 7 of
Yeah,
clubs?
with 2 clubs.
Yeah, I actually translated what he said in real time for people.
Actually?
No, but like I know what he was saying.
So I can't understand a lick of Mandarin.
Yeah.
He was definitely saying, "You're fucking dead to me.
Yeah.
I hate you." Meanwhile, he was drawing stone dead.
Yeah.
Like literally stone dead. He had 8-7 off, no club. She had King 7 of clubs. So you know, basically, he was dead to an 8,
I
a
wonder.
non-club
Yeah.
8.
I wonder how much of like some of these hands are like the demons in at people's ears trying to get them to do stuff, or just like action gamble.
No. There's no demons. This is how they play. I've played with them enough to know that like Peter and Brittany are just straight up action. Honestly, Schwan, low key, also straight up action. Like
That's
every
what-
hand she showed down was absolute ass. It was just like 5-bet, 10-4 suited.
Yeah.
She really polarizes hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like it's kind of cool because, like, if it wasn't working a decent chunk of the time, she would have stopped doing it over the years. And I feel like it's just her image somehow gets these folds, and she's aware of it, and it's like it's pretty sick.
The hyperpolarization would have been selected out of the gene pool.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
But
No, I
like
think-
she's
I think
clearly
it's
getting
fair
away
point.
with it. Like and we saw like last night she got a fold every single time. Then she just kept turning over the 7-3 suited. And we're just like, when are you guys gonna start calling her?
wasn't an accident that I think every time she was doing it, it was against Markus.
Yeah.
Bit of a nit, but you know that's
It's
our
weird
boy. We
'cause
love
it's
him.
kind of scarier to do it against nitty people.
Nah, not when Squid's on.
Not when they're folding Queen Jack suited.
Yeah, like nits still have to play hands.
That's what
You
I
know, and like they don't know. Like Queen Jack suited. Oh my God, rock hard when I get a hand like that in Squid. You know,
like
it's
you're
just
not really
like
thinking there's
That's
much
a
of a
good
raised
hand.
fold gap, you know? Like with the
Massive.
loose people, it's like, oh, they're gonna have some hands they're gonna fold, right?
no,
It's the
because the nature
opposite.
of the game is you have to fight.
Yeah, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, but Juwan got a lot of folds.
Yeah, because it kept being against Markus and
Yeah, that's
Peter, who also had a deuce in his hand every time.
If Swan jams that river of
Snap.
the Jack 8
She
hand,
knew.
the Jack 8,
She fucking knew. She knew.
Oh,
She
God.
absolutely knew she was getting snapped there. You can't just keep tabling 7 high and expect me to believe that you just riveted a flush versus me after tripling off. Like,
Oh, we're talking about when she had 9-10?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
That's at odds.
yeah. Congratulations if you got it. Like, I call.
Yeah.
It was like 125.
All I saw was a really big pot,
Did you?
and that you had one
150?
pair, and
Yeah.
then the flush comes in, and she has 0%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's probably just gonna go all in, and you're just gonna call really
I
fast.
have no diamond blocker, winning too much. I call. Show it to me.
Then she checked, and I was like, this is fine
The
too.
only thing going through my head was, I wonder if she's sick enough to know that like I'm snapping all pairs here and could just like jam queens with no diamond. Because
I mean,
like
she should.
You should. Because like not folding a jack. And I very clearly either missed my draw or have a jack. So like 9-10 of hearts.
That
really
is-
nice one to
That is part of the beauty of expanding if you know how to get thin value, because it just becomes really
Wow.
good value.
It's the upside of it, but you have to have those hands is
But
the
it's
tricky
also really
part.
tough to do. Like, it's tough to look at queens, no diamond, and be all in, because you can just have a flush.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's scary to go for thin value even though you're calling Jack X.
I don't want to talk too much about this. There's a lot to be said about stand-up game dynamics and things of that nature, and we can get into that a little bit later.
All we know is you were calling, and
I
that's
think
it.
I was snapping there. I think we'll back end the WPT talk for closer to the end of the show. Jesse was doing commentary, so he knows all the hands.
I do. I want to say one thing. I do think Siobhan picked her spots extremely well with who to bluff. She picked the 2 biggest nits to 3-bet, Peter and Markus.
Yeah. Precisely, to polar ends of the spectrum. But by the biggest nits, we mean that Markus folds good hands and Peter never has them.
That's a good point. Peter, at one point, Peter had kings, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, he limped.
What's going on here? Yeah, that was maybe the greatest limp of all time.
It's unbelievable.
That rivals
And
Guapo's limps with the kings. Actually, hold on. I just realized that there's a very elite club of people who limp kings and just
The hat's
induce
right
the
there.
9,000 big blind.
The
jam.
difference is he got punished and Rips just smashed all in for 150 with ace king and drilled an ace.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was
he
so
only runs
sick.
it once, right?
No, they ran it twice. He
They
chopped the
chopped
second board.
it up.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was very happy that they were willing to run twice, even though I was scooping all of the spots anyway. Like,
Oh,
it's a lot of variance.
I wanted to ask you, it was kind of hard for me to tell, but how many Squid Games did you win any?
I lost one.
Was there any scoopings of any sorts?
I got bonus the very first squid we played.
Yes.
The very first one.
So how did that work?
If you had 5 or more squids, you scooped all the squids.
And how much money was that?
It depends how many people remained sitting.
How many
so
people?
I had 2 people sitting, so I got 9K because we were only playing 500 a squid at that point. So there were 9 squids. 7 people had a squid, but I had 5 of them. No, that can't be true. Oh yeah. I had 5, and then the other 4 were doled out amongst
2 people. Or no, sorry.
3 people.
3 people.
And the way it works is that the people that had one don't have to pay you. But
Correct.
The people that were sitting had to pay you all of it.
Correct.
Yes.
Like, they chopped it combined 4,500.
No,
right?
they both pay 4,500.
Yeah, they both pay 4,500.
Yeah.
Sorry, they
Yeah,
chopped
yeah.
9K. Got it. Gotcha.
Well,
That's
they don't chop 9K. It's the tax is always 4,500 for anybody who's not sitting. It's just a matter of who it gets paid to.
You just paid per bounty.
So everybody who doesn't get a squid
Oh,
will
9
owe
times 5,
4,500,
45. Gotcha.
which eventually became 9K because we played 1K squid towards the end.
Whoa! I misunderstood that. Then everyone who loses pays
Yeah.
the full 9 squids.
Yeah. Well, unless it ends early. So there's times where like if you're playing 9 squids, there's times where it can end in 7 hands, and only one person's left sitting. So he just owes 7K.
So
Wow.
if there's 9 people at the table, and let's say 3 of you win 3 squids and the game ends.
The other 6 owe the full bounty.
Okay, so you're getting paid out. Let's say it's 1K a squid. You're getting paid out
9K 6 times.
Whoa, that's sick.
So like the very last
Or
squid of the
you're
night.
getting paid out 9K 6 times divided by 3 because there's 3 of you.
No.
No.
Each of them get 9K.
Yeah. Each person has to pay the max penalty.
Sorry. Each of them gets $1,000 per squid that they own from each of the person.
Yeah, so you're getting 3 times 6.
Yeah. So yes, you're correct. It's however many squids you have times 6.
Wow, that's sick. I did not understand that. That's bigger than I even thought.
Yeah, it's different than traditional stand up because traditional stand up is just fighting against the penalty.
Yeah.
right? And then the derivative off of that is progressive stand-up, where you're fighting against the penalty, but winning multiple pots allows you to accrue a bonus. This is the most aggressive form.
If I didn't know any better, I would think that somehow you've weaseled your way into getting other people to play a game that you created to be able to play more hands. You see what I'm saying?
Funny.
If you could find a way to make people pay money for not paying hands, and then giving that money to you,
Right.
Genius.
Parky's like,
which
listen,
allows him to
fellas."
play more hands and like justify playing all of them.
Like, let me sell you on this new game technique I just
feels
found.
Fellas,
great.
I'm going to limp the Jack Deuce suited regardless. So let's make it profitable for me to limp the Jack Deuce.
So
Please.
Ingram texted me yesterday and he goes, he said, Squid Game is super interesting format for making action. You guys, you ran like God in the 10-10 hand. And I said, yeah, you got to run good in these
Thanks,
types of
Joey.
things.
Thanks,
And
Joey.
then he goes, I could see how it would be if everybody was firing bigger parts of their range. Seems very well suited for you to battle.
He's speaking very professionally at the moment.
Yeah, the last text he sent me was Redline King Warrior,
Yeah.
which is hard to redline in the Squid Game for what it's worth. It's tricky. It's not hard. It's tricky. It's a complex game
It is
with a lot of variance involved.
You just get to do what you want and then say what you want, and then maybe you win and you do. So
Well, it's not like that, but it is one of those things where freestyling is a big part of it. Like, I think there are a lot of really sharp people out there that have worked on modeling this that are a little bit maybe
You know
too
what's funny?
confident.
You know what's funny is the people that model it never get to play the game. They're too good. They're too smart.
It's not even that. I actually don't think
You get kicked out for remodeling.
No, like I think that they can play. I don't think it helps the way that people perceive it to. Because I don't think that I think the best way to model this currently would be largely pre-flop, right? And running different like future game sims where you're able to continually control for the EV of folding.
I mean, you probably have to be like all in pre a lot, right?
Well,
Depending.
that's what the model will spit out. Is it'll just like eliminate post-flop play.
Right. You want to realize your equity, get fold equity, win the squid, be over.
And honestly, this was the big argument against like quote unquote GTO when the first wave came through, was that it was like, you guys don't understand multi-way games. And that was true. We've later found that out to be true. Like the first wave of GTO,
Pile solver. era?
it's like it was the fundamental principles derived from it are very good. But it's also just strictly a heads-up model that we're extrapolating out into multiplayer game
Right.
that may or may not apply. And the people at 1-2 saying, like, this doesn't apply to my game weren't entirely wrong. They weren't necessarily entirely right either, but they weren't entirely wrong.
Like some principles could apply, but at the same time, some things did not apply. Like leading.
The point is that, like, the model breaks the second that people are no longer rational actors and just choose to put in, like, a third of their stack pre to go 6 ways. And it's like, okay, well, there's no output for that. Just run good, right?
Yeah.
And with Squid, it's very similar. You can create models. I think the best way to go about it would be in controlling for the EV of folding. So if somebody's sitting, the EV of folding for them now becomes 0. If somebody's standing, the EV of folding is whatever the penalty is. It's minus whatever the penalty is, right? If you solve for that, it's going to spat out these really wonky ranges, and it's going to have the people sitting playing like really tight and aggressively. And it's going to have the people standing playing like really loose and passively. Or it might converge on them having to play heads up because that's the only thing that we are able to extrapolate on. So it might have them also playing like really, really, really aggressively until they get to a heads up node where now they can take a flop. Whole point is that all of that is just going to bake in a ton of fucking pre-flop variance, and it's going to create a nice controlled lab that you can analyze, but it's always going to be 1v1. And that's just not the way the game practically plays. There's way too much edge to derive going multi-way and pitting people up against each other, freestyling these spots. There's way too much edge to derive in recognizing the blind spots that people have when they go post. Like the best way that I can summarize it, and this is what I was talking to my friends about last night, is that the incentives of the game are very clear. It's to get to a position where you can initiate folds from your opposition, right? So the incentive of the game is to be able to redline in some sort of capacity. because the incentive is so obvious, where people fail is that they try to redline in nodes that are blatantly obvious to their opposition and allow them to counter. So if you just play the 3-bet, 4-bet, 5-bet, 6-bet game, the counters are very clear and obvious. And the way to easily monkey wrench that is to just stop putting in the next aggressive action. So the person who chooses not to play the 3-bet, 4-bet, 5-bet game with you and just keeps calling when your range is too wide in each one of those nodes is going to perform okay. You know, they're going to take on a lot of variance, but they're going to perform okay. Additionally, like what you'll find is that like it will reduce the functionality of stack depth. So there were situations where like Peter and I were 400k effective, 350k effective.
It is. You could just be all in at
playing
any point.
100, 200. But like if you adjust the blinds for the quote unquote risk factor, maybe we're playing closer to like 501k, but we're still 300 blinds effective, right?
And the sizes that you guys choose are going to be massive as well.
Right.
So you're not playing like single raise pots 300 deep. Like you might be playing single raise pots where the SPR is 7.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. So it's like, could you model this out where you could just figure out a way to play close to perfectly according to like the scope of knowledge that we have on the game pre-flop? Sure. Is that the way to derive the biggest win rate? I would argue no.
Yeah. There's just many different ways that you can probably practically approach the game, but it's also scary at the same time because maybe the best thing to do in some spots when you think someone's too wide is just be all in with range, like as a counter.
Well, right, sure, that's true, but that's also really volatile and comes with a ton of variance when you're just always running it, right?
Got to start selling the stack.
Now you just start turning it into a blue line game, right? If you're just always running it, everybody's just playing cold hands in some sort of capacity. And that is a strategy that can be applied, especially at shallower depths, which is why I along as with everybody else, advocated for a larger min buy-in. Having a 50k min when you're playing 1-2 is way better than having a 10 or 15 or 20k min, right? Because then you're just playing a tournament. It just becomes ICM.
Yeah, and you guys even kicked up the game so quick too. It was not
Also true.
It was not the game that everyone expected it. Well,
it was
by
what I
everyone,
expected.
I
but
mean,
yeah.
we expected it just because of the action gamblers are action gambling. But bringing 50k to that game, like you have one buy-in.
I brought 400.
Yeah, and even that's
and
like,
I was concerned.
But then you won with hands versus aces.
Winning early is very nice. That was a crucial pot versus Justin. Like
an epic game
it
moment.
probably changed both of our days tremendously.
Well, winning early or losing early, because if your stack dwindles, you're clearly plus EV in the Squid Game, where you can just ram over opens or whatever, and not have to face the repercussions of getting 4-bet.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like the shorter you are, the higher your relative EV is, but it's also much more capped because you only have so many chips in front of you.
I mean, you're just playing with people that can play an 800k pot with you if they just felt like they were compelled to. You know?
Right, and that's what I'm arguing for when I'm talking about freestyling. It's like when the incentives are so clear that redlining is objectively the best strategy, but the counters that your opponents are also putting forward is that they don't want to allow you to redline. They're also trying to counter through redlining. It's this like giant game of chicken, right? So if you're able to find nodes where they have auto folds and can't really defend themselves, right? So it's the idea of like keeping them wide into a position where they can no longer defend, right? And that's not pre-flop. Because like pre-flop, you're just not doing that badly being all in, right? Like, and the thing is like, if that's the way you model the game, if you model it out where you're just trying to play the pre-flop game, the issue is I think you're giving up a ton of edge because that's what allows recreationals to prosper in the Squid Game and the stand-up game. It's the variance, right? It's the notion of like, if we just constantly keep running it, sure, you as the pro might get it in with like a 10% edge a bunch, but that's also going to dwindle a bit because you're going to get it in less frequently than the rec, which means you're going to pay the squid slightly more often.
It's like playing all in or fold games.
Right.
You know, like you can have edge there, but you have more edge.
Except you're doing it now for like, 20 or 100 times the stack. Instead of being 10 big blinds deep, you might be hundreds or even thousands of big blinds deep. So it's like, the way I view it is like, sure, that's an aspect of the strategy is being able to win pre. There was a time where I jammed 80k pre with King Queen to set myself up for the first multiplier. But it's also just like King Queen's a really good fucking hand. And I'm technically only risking like 200 big blinds in this particular spot, that type of stuff.
Well, there was probably a lot of big ones in the middle before this all in
Yeah,
happened,
of course.
you know? So you're also getting a price when they fold, and it's not like 200 big blinds makes it seem like more than it is.
Right. My bigger point is that though that's an aspect of the strategy, there's a much, much greater aspect of the strategy being comfortable just going multi-way and cornering people into positions of being defenseless. You know what I mean? And that's truly what a lot of low stakes no limit hold'em is. There's this like aversion to playing multi-way, right? Like, oh man, I opened 5x in my 1-2 game. I opened to 10 and I just go 6 ways every time. It's like, all right, well then I'm going to start opening to 15 and I open to 20 and I still go 3 ways. It's like, maybe if I open to 25, they'll start respecting my raises. It's like, yeah, maybe, but it comes at what cost? You've just now trained them to play well, right? Like now they're responding with proper ranges when you open to 12.5x. Yeah. So it's like, where's the upside to getting the game to a point of being able to be modeled, right? Because that's really all you're trying to accomplish when you go that large at small stakes.
I think you're just trying to find ideas.
I would agree with you if the crux of the idea was not to just go heads up. What incentivizes us to go heads up? What's the driving force behind that?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So why have we suddenly become enamored with the idea of playing heads up pots?
You're saying in terms of raising your opening size until you get heads up, or you're just talking about
like what drives that idea?
Well, I don't know if we are
probably
incentivized
just winning
to
the
get heads
pot
up.
more.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like people just think if you're playing like 1 versus 1, like you win that pot more often. Or if you're playing against 5 people, you don't win the pot as much.
Right, but equity wise, it's all equal.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel as good.
I don't think it's any of that. It's solvers. Solvers are not very robust or advanced at being able to calculate multi-way. So because the way people study,
so you just want to put yourself in spots that you've trained.
Yeah, exactly. People want to be comfortable within their strategy.
It's not potentially the highest EV decision. It's just the one you're most comfortable with.
Right,
which
and also
allows you to make.
And also, you can't disprove that it's not the highest EV decision because we have no idea what the EV of going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ways is. Like, why don't we limp?
We know pre-flop, right? We can measure it using the pre-flop solvers, assuming that they're correct. But
I think that's a big leap.
Well, we're also assuming that like it's different in the sense of, I guess, I don't know if it's goalpost moving of like theory practice, because like multi-way, like people that say, oh, like I want to call like a hand like ace-x suited to like make a flush against multiple people is worth more in real life than it might be in theory.
Or maybe the opposite. Might be worth more in theory than in real life.
We don't have those answers.
Yeah, I guess I'm just pushing back a little bit about the pre-flop stuff, Jesse, because I think that I thought Ike really did a great job of summarizing this on his GTO Lab pod.
Yeah, I love the way that he talked about that for sure.
Yeah. The basic summary for those who haven't seen it was he just said like, look, we did a really great job of finding this model that functions to solve heads up no limit hold'em. And then we just started to assume that as we add in multiple players, it works. And we got something that looks like good poker. So we're all just studying that and we're operating off of it. And
like
it
the
seems
heads up principles.
Yeah, and it seems to be functioning, right? But you know, he basically admits the same as like I'm kind of protesting here is that like once you add in the third player and beyond, there's multiple equilibria and we have no fucking clue what the true notion looks like, and I think that even applies to pre.
One thing that he said that really stuck with me was like for heads up you can define what a Nash equilibrium is fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but three plus ways we don't even really have a definition of that. He's like, right. I don't even know how we'd go about finding a definition of that because it's so easy to create a definition of it heads up because there's only 2 players. This sounds weird, but as soon as you introduce the third player, like you have this element of if player A does something different than what they're supposed to do, it affects the EV of player B and C, but not necessarily the same. And so I always kind of liked that, the way he put that.
Right, and when you expand that now out to 9.
Yeah.
So effectively for anybody who's like...
What would you make of the equilibrium that like something like Simple 3-Wave comes up with?
I don't know enough about their algorithm, but to kind of reiterate what Jesse's point is, poker in and of itself, because it's a clockwise game that is turn-based, is interdependent, right? So,
Yes.
and it's also a game of imperfect information. It's not like chess where the board is the board. Get out of here. So, in heads up, the interdependency is linear. It's very clear. It's player A, player B. Player A does something, it affects player B. Player B does something, it then in turn affects player A. And that just goes back and forth. When you introduce C, it's now, it can be circular. That could be one potential equilibria. There could be one where like what A does affects C's decision while increasing B's EV, right? And there's also a version where like what A does affects B's decision, which increases C's EV. You know what I mean?
The gains and losses are not equal.
Right. Circular equilibria could potentially exist. Non-linear equilibria could potentially exist. And then when you start to extrapolate it out to more and more and more players, it continually has larger and larger impacts. So I think the issue currently with the way, at least the way I understand multi-way sims, be it simple three-way or like pre-flop solvers and things like that, is that once an action is, I think it works with counter regression, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of like iterates backwards. The issue with that is that I think that everything then interlocks dependently in a linear fashion, and that's maybe only one of a potential, who knows how many numbers of equilibria that could potentially exist. And we don't know that it's the most efficient one. Like the prisoner's dilemma has two equilibrium. I don't think people really realize that. There's two equilibria. There's only one that we can control though, right? Defecting is the only thing in your power.
Steal kind of
Yeah,
idea.
the splitter steal. So like when you steal, you guarantee that you get the highest EV, but the highest EV attainable here is just going to be like half the prize or whatever, because you have to count on a mistake now in order for you to gain. Otherwise, you both just lose, right?
Yeah, I guess the highest EV should be 0, right? Because the other person should always steal as well.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's a dilemma, because it's not.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. You're correct. The highest EV is 0. Or sorry, the least exploitable EV or equilibrium is 0, right? But the highest EV is actually everybody cooperates.
Yeah,
But it's the trust factor that we can't control for, right? So there's actually two equilibria that exist. It's just one can be exploited. So I guess maybe by definition's sake, it's not actually an equilibrium.
I think that's the dilemma, right? Is that
correct? Yeah.
Realistically, you should always steal because you either get all of it or
none of it.
Yeah,
right.
and if you weren't getting any if they were stealing anyways.
Right.
But then now I mean, that's the idea, right? You live in a world where now you're all getting none of it.
Right. So if you add in like a collusion effect where like you're allowed to collude with your fellow prisoners, I believe cooperate becomes the highest equilibrium.
Yeah. Can I the way I like to think about this sometimes is there's a very simple game where one of us starts, right? Let's say like you and I played the game, and we start at 0, and you can add 1 or 2 to the number. And then, so like I start at 0, let's say I say 2, and then you say 3, and then I say 4, whatever. You can add 1 or 2 to the running number. And the player who says 21 or higher loses. And when you're playing that heads up, it's a solvable game. It's a very solvable game, right? Because you can work backwards. You can say, okay, 21, like let's say Landon is second to last to go. Like if I get him to 20, then he loses, right? Because he has to say a number higher than 20. And then I can go backward. I can take a step backwards from there. I'd be like, okay, so if I get him to 17, then no matter what number he says, I can add 1 or 2 to that number to get him to 20. And then I can keep going backwards, and I can figure out who I want to start the game and who's going to win regarding who's like relative to who starts the game.
Yeah, that's counterfactual regression, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is like how I like to think about it. Once you introduce a third player into that game, there's this odd unknown element where you can take your turn and try to play like optimally. I don't know if I even need bunny ears for this, but like optimally. But because there's two other people making decisions, you can't. I don't think that you can map it out so that any player always wins. Does that make sense?
Right. Where in the heads up version, you can figure out who wins.
Yeah, I think you can map it out so that you lose, but I'm not sure if you can figure out who always wins based on the starting point.
Right. It would be like...
I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, like, we're spitballing on air, obviously, so, like, don't hold us to this kind of stuff, but I kind of agree. It would be like if you created a much larger tic-tac-toe board, and you had to get,
that's
like,
actually how I was thinking about it earlier.
Yeah, you had to get, like, 5 in a row, but you had multiple players.
Yeah.
So it's like X's, O's, Y's, and Z's. It becomes a lot more complicated now to find the solve. Although maybe in that instance, I don't know. It's interesting, but the whole point that we're arriving at here is like once you do get to the multiplayer capacity or facet of this game, it really does break almost everything. At least as we currently know it. That doesn't mean that the equilibrias don't exist. It means that we just don't have vision over them.
And the gains and losses are different, where maybe in poker, small blind wants to lead, which then gives big blind less EV and in position more EV. At the same time, they might just play check.
It's a big problem it's a big struggle with the ICM model, right? Because ICM is a very great representation of what happens in multiplayer scenarios where what one person doesn't directly impact him or the field. So in other words, if one person is punting in ICM land, it doesn't necessarily allow everybody else to just win and he loses. He can lose alongside with like the next closest chip stack can lose. Or he could potentially gain based off the fact that it hurts the next 3 closest chip stacks so much.
Right. Like if everybody follows the model and he does not, he will outperform. That was the idea, right?
I don't think that's
like
true.
Like at FT?
I don't think that's true. I think you win more often, but your overall... I believe this was actually modeled in Simmed. I think if you ignore ICM and everyone else in the field plays it, you win the tournament more often, but your actual take-home, your actual ROI is lower.
Interesting.
So here's the thing about multi-way poker solves. And I kind of got into this when he said we expected the multi-way sims to just be broken and to not make any sense because we can't even define an equilibria for multi-way. He's like, we were surprised to find out that it was spitting out what appears to be really good ranges.
Like it looks like logical poker.
Yeah,
still.
Stuff that makes sense. And so one of two things is going on. Either you can't solve multi-way, and for some reason it's spitting out reasonable ranges, which could be happening. Or you can solve multi-way. We just don't really know how, but it is spitting out correct ranges. And the only sort of point on the side of these ranges are actually correct is that they do look like solid, correct ranges, which is odd that it's doing that. And so maybe that's an argument for we don't really know why these ranges, why like what we're telling the solver to do is spitting out correct ranges multi-way, but they appear to be correct. So maybe they.
Well, to be fair, we're not good arbiters of truth here because we don't know, right? Like we just know what feels reasonable, right? And when we look at a bunch of ranges multi-way that just kind of indicate that tight is right, that does seem logical to us. And so we kind of just shrug and say, oh, okay, like there are a lot of principles driving this and it makes sense. Like, why is the big blind under defending compared to the pot odds? It's like, oh, he can't realize his equity post flop. It's like, that makes a lot of sense to me. But I think what I would argue against that is most of those ranges are built in such a way that don't allow for multi-way post. So even if you unlock flats from all positions, it's pretty rare that you see like any reasonable frequency of like call ranges, right?
I feel like we're getting into a separate argument, which is based on the constraints of current solvers, because you can only go like three ways or less sometimes in these. Yes,
but I think that's my overarching point, right? Now maybe the big blind doesn't under realize. if you go 6 ways post flop.
Yeah, maybe not.
Right. And we kind of see this a lot in bomb pots where I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they don't bet from the upfront positions. They choose to check and allow the field to play out in front of them, allowing them to get denied their equity. But like betting one big blind quite frequently monkey wrenches that system, because now everybody who feels they have 0 equity folds and no longer are making plays at the pot. Whereas before, whenever the action was open to them, they were free to make a play at the pot.
But I feel like that might be an exploit, because you actually said people who feel that they have 0 equity. So you're kind of implying that they have more than 0 equity and they're making a mistake by folding.
Well, they have to have more than 0 equity, and they probably are making some mistakes. It comes down to realization properties at that point. And I don't want to give like too much away, but like people just love to fold a pair in bomb pots because it's 9-handed, and they've been conditioned to believe, based off of heads up sims, that when going multi-way with a single pair, your equity is dirty.
Or previous action taking place, neglecting the dead pot.
Precisely.
Or maybe like
where you're getting laid like 9-1 in position with bottom pair and possibly a clean out.
Yeah.
People just don't want to burn money.
It does feel like a burn.
Yeah, but it's like a limit game. Like, and this is a great counterexample, I think, against us having pretty good vision over what multi-way solves look like. If we had pretty strong technology that could demonstrate what's supposed to happen multi-way, limit hold'em would be closer to being solved. Heads up limit hold'em is for sure solved. But to my knowledge, I don't think that there's really any great tech out there that like builds out limit hold'em sims. I could be very wrong about that. I'm not in the limit hold'em streets.
Not what I've seen.
Right.
Not from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I haven't.
Because that would be much more interesting, right? If we could look at limit hold'em preflop charts.
Yeah. I do think, though, you still have to be really careful in making these arguments about delving into what is exploitably good and what is like
theoretically good.
Yeah, or what would be clear, in equilibrium.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not saying that this is like good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's a thing.
No, but like when you say, for instance, in bomb pots, nobody leads, like that doesn't really play into the argument of, is there a Nash equilibrium multi-way potentially, because it's more you're just talking about like an exploit that's good, which is fair. Like you're probably right.
Oh, that wasn't, sorry. I'm glad you bring that up. That wasn't the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to make is that the belief that you under-realize, like your under-realization compounds as you go multi-way is predicated upon what we know to be true about heads-up sims, which is that the in-position player gets to deny equity to the out-of-position player. But because of the collusion effect that happens multi-way, I'm just hypothesizing that may not be as exaggerated multi-way as it is heads up.
Yeah, probably not. You're probably right about that.
So, I'm not trying to make some sweeping statement of like, this is what the equilibrium looks like. You're supposed to lead from first to act or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm more so just like kind of counter-arguing against what is for sure true heads up may not necessarily extrapolate out to multi-way.
But it is very easy, regardless of like, just for people who are thinking about this, it is very easy to start out with thinking about multi-way, finding an equilibrium for multi-way, and then immediately start using some thoughts or examples that are actually exploits. And it's like, it's really easy to kind of blur the lines between those two things when you're thinking multi-way.
And I think to your point, that's why live and online have been so segregated for so many years, because the live player comes from 9-max multi-way poker. The online guy comes from heads up, no limit hold'em, or 6-max. And most of the best learn heads up first. So they build out from like the root node of 1v1 with the widest ranges imaginable, and they learn the game tree that way. And I have to tell you, like, having done it the opposite, it's a really, really strong and powerful tool. I feel like very lucky that my brain was already pre-wired for the brain of a heads-up player in the sense of like wide versus wide. Like I've always just approached the game as wide versus wide. How can I have the widest ranges in every single spot? Because the notion of gambling and giving action was always revered. And it just seemed like a really important trait to possess, even in 9-max. So like luckily for me, even though I had never studied heads up, my brain was kind of conditioned that way to view the 9 max, 8 max, 6 max world through wide versus wide. And as I iterated through my career and then began to learn heads up, I went through like the whole U curve learning path, right? Or the bell curve, if you will, where I was wide versus wide. And then I got conditioned into like good traditional 9 max ranges, no ante, that's like tight versus tight. And it was painful to learn, but it was good to see the other side of the coin, all the way back to learning heads up. I think whenever you're a live guy who like grinded through low stakes and is just accustomed to 9 max multi-weight poker for big pre-flop sizings, somebody who comes to you and says you should open 2.2x and go heads up versus the big blind seems like they have 3 heads.
Yeah.
And so these two worlds never really communicate with one another. They don't ever really collide. And it's why they both believe that they couldn't coexist in each other's world. And they're largely, I think, true by saying that, right? It's like, I think the best online players in the world are much more equipped to come live and just eventually crush. But I don't think they just like step into the platform day one and just start like mashing in 8-way pots. You know?
It's the weird in between of like being not like free thinker versus like boxed thinker, but the boxed thinking definitely gives you the principles. And then once you have the principles, you can kind of try to free think, if you will.
Yeah.
But if you start by free thinking, that's not always the best approach because you might develop habits that are hard to break.
I think it just depends on the person's ability, right? Like, because I would make an argument that like starting with the freedom and no restraints is the best way to iterate into control. Like, I'd rather have the person who is reckless and wild and then teach them precision and patience than the person who's risk off and just, you know, definitive to the actual subjected ranges. Because you're just going to leave way too much money on the table, I think, in the live realm if you're so handcuffed. This is why like somebody like Jeremiah, I think, is so good. Like, his name online is not an accident. Like, being a freestyler is so revered in the live realm.
Right. At the same point, how different was, well, if you look back at, like, I guess the crossbook ideology, it's like myself versus Jeremy. Like, Jeremy's more free thinker, does what he wants, like, doesn't own computer. And then
it's different. You're way further along the learning path. And that's not a slight against Jeremy.
Right.
Right. It's just that you're so refined in the mechanics and in the principles, right? It's like the problem with being a free thinker is that you have no guiding light. So if he doesn't, and to be fair, he's in an era where he'll be way more exposed than I was. It might have taken me 10 years to really understand equity denial, power of position in its mathematical form, not in a general construct.
Even in the sense of like playing like button opens and you pile 30 from the small blind and it's like, oh man, like this is a lot, but at the same time you jam 30 to win 5.5 big blinds in the middle,
right? And
see it that way versus the, oh man, but if you get called, like you're flipping if you're lucky.
Right. So like for Jeremy, he's probably going to have more exposure to GTO principles just based off the nature of the landscape as it is,
and like people taking good sizes and betting.
But like that being said, it's still going to be a slower progression when you start with infinite and try to refine your way down to technical. Right? When you start with technical and you try to expand your way out to infinite, of course you're going to advance way, 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 way faster. So the notion that like me being on your side, where it's like, I think you're just crushing this spot, I could just be wrong. And like what he does understand about the infinite aspect of live might actually neutralize your technical ability.
Like superseded. And
right. Or B, I'm right, and it's just a small sample. We're not going to get to realize it, but being laid 10% VIG is just going to be, like I said, I would have taken Jeremy plus 110 also.
Right.
I didn't think that like any skill gap that may exist was large enough to overcome
That's
that.
what any like call it sharp gambler would have done. It's just taken the price on whoever and just rode with it depending on their exposure.
Yeah, I think so.
You have a lot of money and you tip 10%.
I think so. But I understand your point, and I think that that's why there was so much support behind Jeremy, because there are a lot of people who came up through the freestyling era.
Most of the live guys that win do that.
Yeah.
At least in the bigger, like the stuff that we're playing mutually, I suppose.
Yeah. Though I think that there's a strong argument that most of them are probably just survivors. Because even I, coming from the vantage point of like, live still having so much opportunity available to it or to everybody because there are so many unique spots that you just can't solve for. I still very much acknowledge that having these baseline principles solidified and understanding the mechanics of the game supersede any of that. You know, if you're just mechanically sound, especially in an MTT, you're going to do pretty fucking well. If you're trusting yourself on like gut reads and shit like that, it's going to be a struggle.
Well, look at the highest tier of MTTs. Those guys are all the regs are just incredibly mechanically sound and put much less value on anything like live reads or exploits.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. We just happened to see the best on display recently at Triton in the Bahamas. It was a 500K buy-in. They called it the Trition Million because they were paired with VIPs. And the final 10, pretty much all pros. Small mix of, I guess, what you would call VIPs. But unless I'm mistaken, I think only Socia and Texas Mike were of the VIP
side
of things.
Wait,
yeah, and as far as
Loco
VIPs go, they're pretty.
That's why I said, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't know where Loco fell.
I think Loco was paired with. Man, now I have to look. Do you know? Baba?
I don't know off the top of my head. No.
Damn it. All right.
Yeah, give it a quick Google search so we can find out. But shout out to Lococo.
And like either way, Lococo plays online, like plays everything on Stars
Ambassador.
Like he is, even if he's on like the recreational side, he is a very competent, capable poker player, not just like random business fella takes a shot.
But
I mean, we saw that all across the board, though.
Yeah, but he's a battle rapper who made his way in the World Series main event. That's how he became discovered. Parlayed that into a Stars ambassadorship. I played with him at the NAPT, and I have to tell you, to Jesse's point, I would not consider him in the camp of, you know, just wrought precision and perfect ranges. He's a thinker. He's a free thinker for sure. He's out there freestyling. He's doing a lot of shit. Wildly aggressive.
Gangster for sure.
100%. He is for sure super aggro. So, like, when we're talking about, you know, the really refined online guy, as opposed to the live guy who kind of has a little bit of feel and does the shit that he does, I think Lococo's a little bit more of the latter category. But the rest of the final table, you're looking at like really sharp. Yep. Ben Heath got second.
He had like nothing, and then he spun it back up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was short.
Ben is like such a sleeper pick.
He's
He's
like
always getting
big
third in these big tournaments.
Yeah, big Ben Heath
Sicko.
fan.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Chance bubbled the final table, running us straight into the set of Daniel DeVoris, who turned a full house. Sign-in Unlu, he plays in the app game I play in every now and again. He got third. Played with him at Bellagio a few times as well. DeVoris got fourth. Elias oh, come on, man. Talviti? Okay, good. Okay. He got fifth. Fox in sixth. Ponakov's seventh. Socia from the VIP side, but she plays incredibly well. Like, very studied.
So she's a gangster.
Very studied. She got eighth. Texas Mike got ninth. And then rounding it out was Mateos in 11th. And Etsy Wang got 12th from the VIP side.
It's funny just in the sense of like, call it pro versus VIP, where trying to qualify some VIPs with like, yeah, like they're a VIP, but they try, you know, like before.
Not
like,
try, study. I think that's the big difference.
Like, do you study or do you not study? I suppose like studying recreational, you know what I mean? Like back in the day, like recreational player used to mean like they're not putting effort into the game, and that doesn't mean they don't love the game.
Right. So going along this line, there's a video, I think you have it queued up, from Lococo, and the title is "I Don't Study." So I think our reads are like pretty good here, as far as you know what he looks like from a precision standpoint. Go ahead and run it.
I was saying before that I don't run solver sims, you know, I don't study. I just try to play my best game in every situation. I felt that I could win this tournament. And when I make day 2, and after that I make day 3, I really was feeling that I would win this tournament. And in every single moment of the final table, I was feeling that I was winning the tournament, you know. So, yeah. I was saying before
I mean,
that
there are a lot of ways to study, right? And like studying solvers is perhaps the most effective way, but like
that's one way.
Yeah, it's one way, and just I don't know if just sitting there and thinking about spots you just played isn't quite effective as well. Like if you're a smart guy like Lococo and you play a bunch of weird spots, you put yourself into nodes that maybe other people don't get into, and you think about them a lot and how you want to approach them, and then you put other people in those nodes, and now you're playing way better than them in these obscure nodes. Like that's in my mind, that's studying in its own way, and that's a very effective way to go about poker. Like one of my favorite examples was Sauce used to just play like heads up and just have a crazy high check back frequency on the flop, and it just he
just learned that strategy.
Yeah, he just caged people because they just weren't used to the check node 75% of the time on the turn, or getting
right, because now their turn probes are conditioned for a normal check back range. So now their turn probes become inefficient.
I'm feeling inspired, like it in the sense of the box thinker of like you can't raise this combo, you can't do what you just did based off of whatever principles that might be limiting and potentially true. Like there was a hand that Lococo played against Makita when he had Jack 10.
He got so gangster with it.
And then Makita raises, bets, Lococo jams in position with a double gutter, where conventional logic would say like you should probably flat because of the ICM. You can still make a good hand.
Right.
You can still bluff if Makita checks to you and you don't improve. You still might river a pair.
And Makita covered.
He
put himself at risk. I think it was either on the bubble or just
it was very close.
Yeah.
It was very close.
There was
to
definitely
the money.
ICM pressure.
Yeah, and it's cool is not the right word because there's many better ones, but seeing someone be aware of that and say, okay, like that's fine. I think this is still going to perform really well in practice, and then go with it, and then get ace king to fold was not something that he probably expected, nor anyone really expected. But the line is, it doesn't have to work very often. Like it gets through once, and like that hand's now over.
Yeah, I think what's really changed is that for a very long period of time, people who did that type of stuff were just labeled as awful.
Yeah, I was gonna say like people just say, oh, like that's a whale play, right? Like that's a whale. Versus now, I think
people are a lot more open-minded to the idea of like, okay, theoretically that might not be the highest EV choice, but like how bad could it be?
But maybe
you're jamming an open ender.
Well, I think
maybe it is if ace king starts folding though.
Right.
Like.
Well, that's what I mean. Like practically, like how bad could it be?
Yeah, your timing is so important. Like Makita might just, or probably didn't think that. He's like, yeah, I know this guy can be up to some stuff, but maybe not on the bubble of like
the
10x,
biggest tournament that he's ever played.
Yeah, 50x, the biggest tournament he's ever played in the past. Like he might just forego finding the semi bluffs here. It turns out he found probably like a dustier semi bluff than he even should, and it worked well. I would have folded in Makita's spot for sure.
Very easy to think that your opponent has no bluffs in that node.
There was a spot that Devoris played. It was a multi-way situation, and he had tripped tens, and it was like a mystery hand. So you didn't really see the hand until showdown. And he bet river, gets jammed on in like a very obscure line where
the king jack.
It's clear. Yeah, it's clear like he doesn't beat value for in position, but the price was so good. And Devoris like, man, like. I don't know, like my hand's really good to call, and then he ends up time banking and calling and seeing king jack for like this turned pair plus gutter, and then river just bluff, trying to get him to fold probably not 10x, but just he thought he didn't have the best hand and then bluffed. And it's just like wow, like you can't just assume that people aren't trying to find it.
Right.
Where it's so easy to say like, oh, haha, like he just has value.
That's a really good that's a really good meta thing that I don't think very many players consider at all. But like playing as deep as I play, this is a really important thing to be in tune to. Especially with like players like Peter and Brittany, knowing their mood and their mindset of like where they're at. And it's not just them; it extrapolates out. Like there are a lot of regs that I play with that oscillate in their mindset and the strategy that they apply based off of it. If you have a certain sense of feel for when they want to fight for a pot versus when they want to just like play a very straightforward strategy that is as expected, it's the difference between being able to like find those low frequency hero calls, hero folds versus just like lazily saying he doesn't have bluffs in this node and just mucking, you know?
Yeah, it's
or the other way. Oh,
feel,
sorry.
No, you're good. It's just like the game flow is still real, regardless of how machine you want to be.
Because you're playing against humans.
You're a human being, man. Like you lose a big pot or something, and then you get a hand that mixes a 3-bet, but you're like, I want to get this money. Like I want to get it back, you know. And then you 3-bet, so now your range is actually wider than it's supposed to be. Like there's just a bunch of different things that happen because you're human.
Right. Yeah.
Some people want to fight harder when they lose. Some people want to like lock it up when they lose.
Brings us right back to the whole multi-way discussion. Like, don't care what you model for. Everybody's human, and they're just not going to find that aggressive choice every single time.
So Lococo was paired with Joao Vera.
Naza.
Oh, okay. So Lococo was VIP.
He was the VIP. He was
Yeah,
the
it was
VIP.
For sure.
I mean,
That's
he's
sick.
He's a VIP anyways, regardless of if he's on the
Right.
pro side or not.
Right.
But yeah, it's something that I think the like very studied like hardcore machine like math guys will be like, that doesn't matter all long term. Like play this tournament infinite times, make the decision. But the really attuned live guys are aware that every spot's a one-off spot.
Right. And the thing is like,
can sway.
Go back to the Makita hand, right? That ace king is not a pure fold.
Probably not.
But he confidently folds it more often because he thinks that they're like the Lococo's devoid of bluffs in that spot. What we actually find is he might have too many bluffs, right? Because he's jamming a hand that's probably a pure call.
And maybe he is one of the few people that has too many bluffs versus the pool
Which
that doesn't
has no
have enough bluffs.
Precisely.
And now Lococo gets some EV back because Makita goes off of empirical data of
Exactly.
paying this spot and always seeing 2-pair plus.
Exactly. What were you going to say, Jess?
He's locked in.
I don't remember anymore, but that I would have folded ace king there for sure.
I mean,
I
it's
know that
hard
much.
not to, right? You just
Yeah.
you think the guy is 2-pair, and you're playing in this huge pot where if you're stacked, like you might not bubble this tournament too. And Makita's not worried about like the 750K or whatever it is when you min cash.
Right.
He's worried about making the right decision in the moment and thinks, I should probably just fold here because I don't beat value, and I think he has 2-pair, and bluffs are hard to find.
Yeah.
And he had a bluff, and that's life.
You
It's
generally
over.
you generally think that if they find their semi bluffs, they're like the really nutted semi bluffs too. So you're not even that far ahead of their semi bluffs.
Like combo
Like-
draw, like double gutter, flush draw, or something.
Yeah.
Well, with one to come, I mean, you're a pretty big favorite versus that type of stuff. I tend to agree with that, like on flops. Like when you see bet the ace king on the ace high board and get raised by what could only ever be 2-pair plus or combo draws, it's like, I'm doing really bad against that range, you know? But like with one to come, I think that tends to be a bit of a fallacy that a lot of players fall into, where it's just like, oh, I don't beat value here, and I'm also like not a big favorite versus their bluffs. Like, actually, even if you gave them their highest equity bluff, like you're still 3-2,
Man.
you know, maybe 3-1 favorite.
Poker's it's a really cool game because like it makes me sort of think, oh, maybe I'm not playing as creatively as I personally want to. At the same time, like don't fix what isn't broken.
There's a weird proposition that players have to go through every single time they sit at a table of, do I take the free money or do I manufacture extra dollars based off of what my
At the cost of some risk.
right exactly based off of my perception of what's taking place here and my level of confidence in it. And you know, like from my perspective, I'm very hard on that side. Like I try to take the free money when the free money's available, of course, but like when I see money in the banana stand, I'm going to shake that shit dry. And like that, it puts you go out on a limb, man. If some of these clips get out from yesterday's game, I'm going to get right back on a Doug Polk video about being the biggest idiot in high stakes. You know, I'm check raising queen 10-4 all hearts with 8-5 of diamonds.
That was a fun hand, by the way.
Let's talk about it.
That was a fun hand. I kind of felt like you might have had a bit of a live read, but I could be wrong there.
It was slightly beyond that. I have like,
Is there context? Can we pull it? Are we cooked?
He just check raises like queen 10 deuce all hearts with 8-5 of diamonds or
effectively. So here's the way the hand played out.
Sorry, like is there Squid Game?
Squid Game's
is there
always,
stand-up
just
game?
assume Squid Game's always on. It was 1K Squid.
Do you have one? Do you not have one?
I don't remember what my situation was, but Peter did not have one. And 3 people limp, including Peter from the cutoff. Brittany opens the button to 2K. I flat, folds back to Peter, and he makes it 12K after limping the cutoff. So like the like, yes, I had some live reads, but like, I'm not going to put a ton of stock into that. I'm just more looking at line work. This isn't a hand. This just isn't a hand. But what I know about Peter's game is that he's very quick to jump to the next aggressive node. So what I should do is just fold because I have 8-5 suited and I'm out of position.
I was going to say, where did that equate into the calculation?
Well, we're 400,000 effective. I think he has, like, I don't think he's doing this linearly. When I say he'll reach for the next aggressive node, once he decides to limp raise, I don't think you see hands like Jack 10 suited.
Or like 7.
Or 7s, right? Like they either open or they call.
It's like his sneak traps or like some weird suited.
Precisely, like 3 deuce off or 3 deuce suited or, you know, ace X offsuit high low that, you know, can click the 5 bet if you fucking give him the opportunity to, but also is just ramming and jamming and can't ever make a hand post, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gambling. I know I'm gambling.
So Brittany folds.
Brittany folds. So this might not be the highest EV call, but let's assume I didn't have a squid and I need to win one. Now, I you know what? I definitely had a squid because I voluntarily showed.
And now we're back
I do remember that.
Now we're back in.
But, you know, there's some bridge equity here. You know, I got the man to reload for 400K after the hand ended.
Jump off a bridge equity.
Right. So, you know, there's some bridge equity. Anyway, the point is like, I get it. I'm gambling. 8-5 suited, maybe not the right choice. But like, how much do we really need to delineate here between 8-5 and 8-7 or, you know, 9-10 versus whatever? It's like,
I think the math side of the coin would say if you're not delineating, then you have way too many combos that you're picking from.
He has too many too, though.
Right. He also is in position.
Sure.
And your hand isn't very good. But I have a plan. You had a plan, but you probably don't have many good hands here either.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because...
It doesn't matter to him.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter to you.
Correct. Correct. It just doesn't matter because he doesn't know what I have as far as my call range goes.
You just think he's got nothing.
Well, he'll have some idea. I mean, you went call. You don't have, you know...
Well, I mean, Matt can just have Jack 10 off.
15% or whatever.
Sure, but like post flop, that's not a super big deal if I do catch him at bottom.
Like
it doesn't matter that I don't have like aces, kings, queens.
No, that's funny actually.
All that matters is that I can flop sets, straights, and flushes.
That is funny. Like you're both playing with a range that doesn't have the top.
Correct. Well, no, he has the top. He
might.
He has no middle. He has absolutely no middle.
That's correct. I see.
I have no top. So, and I really don't have a...
Like he still might have queens.
Right. He has a very robust bottom, no middle, and a little bit of top.
And how
I have no top, a very robust middle, and a little bit of bottom.
You know, I've been told by the ladies that I have a very robust bottom. Just want to.
I was going to
the ladies being
I
Ashley.
almost thought that was going to get through.
Man, you beat me. You beat me too. I was going to say you have a very robust middle, but that's Marcus.
My middle's a little on the weak side.
That's the turtle, man. What are you talking about?
Right.
So anyways, this comes Queen 10 deuce, not your suit.
Queen 10 deuce, all hearts. I think he had ace deuce offsuit, no heart.
Gotcha.
He c-bets.
How polar of him.
Right. He c-bets like relatively large. I think he went like 3rd or 40%. And I just know if he has a ton of nothing, he's going to bet a ton of nothing. And so like I don't have a great plan here for winning the pot outside of this exact node.
Correct.
I'm literally just trying to exploit this one particular node
through like a min raise.
No, I raised 3x.
Can I say something?
I
do feel like this is where the live tell came. Like, if there was a live tell, I didn't mean like throughout the whole hand. I just meant
I did feel very confident on the flop. Yes,
and I'm sure you had multiple reasons, right? Like for instance, you might have thought, oh, if he has something like pocket 7s with a heart, he might check back here.
Correct.
So he's actually missing some 1 heart hands that will call the check raise, but he will bet all of his air.
Exactly.
He also might not like limp re-raise that pre. So that's not even in range.
But even if it is.
True.
Right, but to Jesse's point, like even if the margin of error is like that hand is there, I agree with everything he's saying right now.
Well, my thinking here when it comes to if you think he has a polar range, he either has a good hand that might continue with offsuit with a diamond or just like a pair or something, or he has nothing. Like no pair, no draw.
That's what Jesse's saying.
Sure.
Yeah, he may check back a 10, for instance.
I just think when it comes to like your check raise size, you get a better price targeting the same range with min versus 3x. So like now you're risking less to make the same play with the same efficiency.
I don't know if that's true because I don't know how he responds to min, but I know exactly how he responds to 3x. Like bottom pair was out. but bottom pair might be in for min. Like, I don't want to give him. I'm trying to exploit.
Click it back for
exactly. I'm trying to exploit one singular node, and planning on putting no money in there forward. So I want to effectively reap the benefits of that node with a preconditioned outcome.
This is just the argument that when two people are playing a hand, somebody needs to win it.
It's a game of chicken.
Somebody needs to win, you know? So, like, you might be giving up X amount of big blinds in this spot, but he's also giving up X amount of big blinds in this spot where if you're losing 20 bigs and he losing 30, you're gaining 10.
Right.
But I like to.
And you have face equity. You get to come back to the stream.
The face equity is nice.
Math.
I felt like there was a moment after he bet where you were thinking about raising and you kind of grilled him extra long. And when they panned back to him, he looked like he was not thrilled to be getting grilled.
Little pensive.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if how much that factored in, but I feel like at least subconsciously you probably felt a little bit more confident about your bluff based on that. And
you're
like,
very right.
I just felt like you there was a reason why you were looking at him for extra long, and it wasn't, I don't know, it was you were finding something there. So like, obviously there's a lot of reasons to check raise, but that particular hand, I felt like you had something going on with how you felt he looked.
Yeah, we were doing a little dance.
What a hand. Yeah, well, like,
It was a good hand.
when
those fail though, you end up on a poke video.
Yeah.
And like, I know that I've beat this drum to death, but like, I do kind of feel like that took a lot of the creativity out of poker for a long period of time. People just didn't want to get out on a limb and do creative shit and then just get made fun of in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers
For not playing correct poker.
Right.
Where
Why, has he made fun of you before?
Not me, Jesse. No, but you know, Jason Mercier, the bad rag.
I think it's interesting when you try to think about like what is correct poker. You know, is correct poker playing like the machine, or is correct poker winning the pot?
Well, you hate to go with the latter because that's just a bit of.
You love the latter.
No, I understand, but the incentive is to win the pot. But I'm saying that that's a little bit results oriented. But I think the actual intention behind what you're saying is correct poker playing like the machine, or is it doing the things that you feel give you the highest likelihood of winning the pot in the moment?
If you're playing this hand in a different game where it's all, let's just call it, for example, like the high stakes cash online championship or whatever for coin poker. Like, this hand just never happens.
Never exists.
It just never exists. You don't play this way. But because of the situation, the circumstance, the people you're playing against, you're playing very differently. And that allows you to be able to play again. Yeah. And that is also worth something that's not baked into just saying, let me play good poker and hope I get a seat.
Here's what may have gone very unnoticed by the audience when it was all said and done. Peter went through a wild roller coaster of emotions throughout that session. He had a lot of frustration and a little bit of fun. He didn't lose that much money in the grand scheme of things. But throughout, there were points where he was unhappy with the complexity of the lineup. He felt like some people were, you know, kind of just cherry picking spots.
Like there to fleece.
Here's what recreationals are never going to want. And that is people who are perceived by their optics to being good and them just putting in all of the money in non-gamble spots, right? So when guys just like limp jam 400 with jacks and they get exploited and lose, you know, their large open with the 7-3 suited that they went with, and they never had a chance to gamble post or play bingo or fuck somebody good.
Right.
They hate that guy. And it doesn't matter if that guy's a recreational. It doesn't matter if that guy's a VIP. They hate that style because it's predatory. It feels like they're being...
Like, I'm waiting for you to do something dumb, and I'm going to collect on your dumbness.
It feels like they invited you to a meetup game, openly said, I'm going to put a bunch of money in the pot dead,
here we go,
and you choose to limp kings.
Gutless scum.
Did you notice that he celebrated Peter for limping the kings earlier? And when you do it,
I didn't celebrate him.
I don't know if you're picking up on this kind of stuff.
You
Guapo.
saw it.
It feels slightly disrespectful, man.
The difference is, Peter was the one hosting the game.
Exactly.
Peter gets to do what the
If
fuck he
I
wants.
blipped Kings,
It'll be fine.
that's totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
You come into my house under my rules.
Are you starting to understand how this works now, Jesse?
If we lose Guapo, you know why.
I do know why.
Oh, what
I
a
don't know
web
why.
we weave.
I don't know why.
Tangled webs we weave.
But no, like I make fun because it's a funny callback, and hopefully Guapo's feelings aren't actually hurt. I can't tell what I'm trying to pick up on a read here, and it's like very 50-50. He could be leaning in.
My poker face.
He could be leaning in or wanting to fight me. I'm not too sure.
A cage match can happen at any time.
Let me help you with your read. There goes your read, all right?
His guts are everywhere. Anyway, the bigger point I'm trying to make is that they know why people are playing the game. They understand that they're playing the game because they're in it, right? They know that they're the host. They know that they're the whole fucking party. And there's a certain feeling, and I've had this feeling too. Like, I give a lot of action in games I play. So there are certain people whose VPIP are single digits. I'm not going to name names, but like throughout the years, I've fucking done everything in my power to either get them to change or to not be in games because it feels predatory. It's like you're actively doing something that you know is contributing to the overall game at the cost of your bottom line in that particular moment, right? So you don't want to feel like you're getting taken advantage of. Now, the flip side to that is I want all the fucking money. And at the end of it, in spite of Peter having some moments of frustration where he was upset, they were very happy to gamble with me. He doesn't mind getting scooped by pocket eights when he has Jack 10 suited because it's very clear that both of us are just putting the money in really fucking lightly. Yeah. And that's fine. He's there for blood. He doesn't mind bleeding a bit. He just wants it to be a fair fight. He doesn't want to snap off a 250 or 300 big blind jam with Jack 10 suited and get shown fucking queens every single time.
The funny part about that is different situation, different person, but you played a big pot against someone that was a VIP, but you had aces, even though you're super wide, and you won, and they hate you.
Yes.
They hate you.
When was this? Not last night.
Long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it was like you gamble and do all the things, but optically in that one spot, left such a bad taste that it's like I don't want to play with that guy anymore. He's nitty.
Who the fuck was this?
Who are you referencing? I'm unsure too. Oh, you can say it. No, that's true.
He doesn't even play poker.
Yeah, Krish. In the Hustler game, Ivy limped the cutoff. I opened aces. Krish 3-bet ace 10 suited and it came 10 high and I stacked him and he hates me for life because I fucking had aces once. He shut me out of games, all kinds of shit because I fucking had aces once. It's like, buddy, watch the tape. I'm sorry that.
But again, it's not about the tape, right? It's about that one instance and situation where he felt you cherry picked him.
Exactly.
To be fair, you won like $500,000 there too, or something like that.
Yeah, no, I was a big winner, and the following day I did hold over him. There was a spot where I flopped the nut straight, he flopped the second nut straight. I think I had king queen versus queen 8. And it's like that's unlucky when it comes to Jack 10-9, man. I mean,
what do you want me to do?
You would have played the king queen too. I don't know what to say, but I get it, right? I get it. There's no winning him back. I'm not going to win him over. I'm not going to try, and I'm just going to move on. And it's like you just have to kind of take this stuff with a grain of salt, but also have it in the forefront of your mind. It's
like I got 5 heads. I'm like, who I'm talking about.
I really didn't. I forgot. I completely forgot. But yes, you're right.
Everyone forgets.
But that's why. I think a lot of people would have not shown him the 8-5 in that spot, right? Because it seems insulting.
Right.
No,
right?
you want to show him.
100%.
That gets his fucking. He's like, oh yeah, I like playing with you.
He knows when he's stuck. You're a guy that he can win money
exactly.
off of.
Yeah.
He may not win money off of you, but he can. You're not locking it up ever.
Right. Me showing 8-5 there isn't indicative of some sick play where he looks at me and he goes, oh my God, this guy is too pro. Get him out of the fucking game. He just check raised me with 8-5 of diamonds on queen high all hearts. Get him out. I can't beat this guy. No, what he looks at is
I can re-raise against him and fight back.
He just looks at me, he's like, brother, we're playing the same fucking game. Okay, I'm gonna put another 350 on the table. And the next time you try that, I'm gonna fucking fuck you.
And let's get these other guys out of the game.
Right. There's that, and then there's also the component of he's fuck this guy. How do I beat this guy? I'm going to come over the top. And now he's like strategizing. And as soon as he's strategizing about how to beat you in particular, he's now assuming that you're going to stay at the table.
Yes.
Which is a big part of his strategy.
Right.
And is
And he's
also
not
what
wrong.
you
Well,
want.
that's the thing is if
no,
Matt,
I'm saying it's exactly what you want. You want to be at the table.
Of course.
So it's like, it's kind of beautiful in a way.
well,
Yeah,
like if you
yeah.
were up a certain amount of money and then said like, all right, I'm done in rack, like you're dead for life.
Yeah, I was up 350. That's a big fucking win in 100, 200, man.
But you can't leave the table till it's
I'm
over.
never leaving till that game breaks. Who knows, like, when I get to play again? And also, like, I don't want to
Sorry,
leave.
guys, got a big dinner to go to.
Nobody's taking a knee, bro.
Right? It's like I regressed, I regressed a little bit to the mean. I still ran fucking hot, but like I lost half of that back.
So the problem with this Krish guy is you can't strategize against a guy having aces. All you can do is get him out of the game. So his best strategy.
The best strategy is
That's actually
leave.
very, very fair. And that's why I'm saying,
I'm
like,
not saying you only played aces.
no,
Obviously,
of course. But it's just like the few pots we played against each other, I was nutted. And so, like, his read from his perspective is not wrong. And that's fine if you feel that way. Like, get him out. It's like you can only do so much. But the bigger point is like there will be the 8-5 spot. And it's like I can either take it and show it and move on and hope that builds a little bit of rapport with the VIP. Yeah, it's like, look, man, we're doing the same thing. We're just fighting for pots.
Okay, man, I don't believe you.
Right, we're here to blast. Like, I'm not fake and a lot of guys will do this as like fake action, right? They'll take a spot that they just have 99% confidence in, and they'll table the 4 deuce, like a 4-bet spot pre or something like that, where it's clear it's just getting through a lot.
You know what's funny is if you had a flush in this spot and you raised and he folded and you showed, he would be like, oh, he just has value.
For sure, I would never show a flush.
But that's what I mean. It's like if you showed a flush, somehow, like, and we're just like, oh, like I had it this time. It's like, oh, like he's just trying to make a big hand against me and try to get it all.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
Yeah, so like here's a great example. I don't like I haven't watched the tape, but I'm very sure that Markus was doing a lot of fucking around. Like
no, he had it.
That's so sad.
No, I mean he did some fucking around, but he had it a lot.
I know he had it a lot. I do know that he had it a lot, but I think that like he was playing the game as well. Is my point.
Yeah,
like he was trying, but the problem is optically, it's impossible to believe that. And there's 2 exact reasons why. And I tried to kind of give him the office about this afterwards, but he does this thing where before he makes a decision pre-flop, he takes like 20 seconds. And I don't know if he's like collecting himself or what, but like I was making fun of it. I kept calling him Fred Flintstone, where like he had the LaManna look, where like he looks down at his hand and he's just deer in headlight. It's like, and you just always know a 3-bet's coming. After that, always.
You get there's an aura for the 3-bet.
I used to get so much shit about doing the same thing from Mikey D. Like as soon as I would look at my hand and look up, you'd be like, he's about to 3-bet you.
Right. And that's a bad feeling when you're at the table.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
It's a really bad feeling. And the problem was, even if he's fucking around, the problem is that it gives a lot of weight to his bad hands. And that's the exact opposite that you want to portray to a VIP. What you want to give off is that you're always weak. So you gain the value from the top side. That's great. But you want them to be comfortable gambling with you always. The exact opposite thing came across. And now Brittany and Peter's perception, even if Markus was fucking around a ton, was that this guy just always fucking has it. Because that's the aura he's giving off. That's what he wants you to believe, right?
Man, I've learned many things from Nick Schulman. For cash games, the best one was fast and loose.
Absolutely.
Fast and loose. Just that's it.
He was slow and tight.
Fast and loose.
You're 100% right. He was slow and tight, and nobody respects that. Right?
You gotta play fast and loose, man.
I didn't mean to not give him any credit. He was definitely getting in there. I think he just got tired at the end of the night, too. That kind of happened to Rip as well.
Yes, for sure. But even Rip, who I've played a ton with, he gives a ton of action, right?
Like you call fast, like you do back quickly. Like it's not this thing where it's like, okay, let me calculate how much is in the pot. Like if you want to do that, go play empty tees.
Yes, but like even Rips, who is a fast and loose player generally, was not yesterday. He gave off the perception of slow and tight. And that's not him. And that's the whole point that I'm trying to get at is like, it's not about what Markus's hands actually were. Right? Like I said, he could have had a great imbalance to not having it versus having it.
It's about the aura.
And he could like try to make that as a case. Like, man, you have no idea how many times I bluffed. Like, I could have tabled them all. And he could have tabled them all.
Wouldn't
and it
matter.
still wouldn't have mattered.
Not mattered.
Because the feeling in the room was very dense that like when Markus took 20 seconds,
You're being serious.
it was about to be 15,000 pre, right? Like it just got way too damp and serious, and we're all trying to splash and have fucking 7 high make it to the river sometimes.
So what's your suggestion to him? Just 3-bet faster if you're going to
fast
3-bet?
and loose.
yeah, man, you look at a pretty hand, you put in fucking chips.
You put in chips fast. You don't think about the sizes
More
or think about the
importantly,
people
like
behind
you anticipate, right? Like I act relatively quickly because I'm paying very close attention to what's happening.
You're thinking when they're thinking.
Exactly. You don't need to take your time when it's on you. Take their time when it's on them.
You're not like
No, I'm just sorry. I don't mean
go
to. I'm not questioning it. I'm just trying to understand if there's anything more that you feel he should have been doing besides just playing faster.
There's an actual physical way to appear splashy. I think.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was hoping to arrive at, because I do feel like there's an element to this that maybe sometimes I miss that you do really well, and it's good to talk about this sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be that guy at the table either, and Markus doesn't either.
Right.
Odds are he was just like tired and took too long.
Sure.
Each
Well,
hand.
no, he plays like this. He really does play like this every day. But in our games, it's fine because it's like maybe there's like one recreational. So like you do you, man. Whatever wins you the most. And to be fair, like I don't want to like toot my own horn when I speak about this stuff, but it is something I feel like I'm very good at, is like that fast and loose table presence. Right. So
and I agree, because that's why I'm asking you these questions.
Fair.
I think you're good at it.
That's fair. I think like it's really the long pause, quiet, stoic thing, and I get accused of this in a lot of streams for what it's worth. So like I do understand both sides of the coin. There's a lot of streams I could put in that are just not good games. You know what I mean? And like
you are slower and more methodical.
You
in these
have
games.
to be, man. Like people are like, I hate watching Berkey. He's a fucking robot. It's like, okay, man. Like I have a lineup of Rascoon, Polk, and Ike,
Jungle.
Like, what do you want me to do? Fucking shoot the shit and fire it off?
For some reason, you're always in a lineup with Jungle. By the way, I don't know why, but every time I get a clip on my YouTube feed that has you in it, the Jungle's at the table.
I actually, of all the like really great high stake pros that I've had the pleasure of playing with, I enjoy Jungle the most.
Jungle's good time.
He actually, in spite of the fact that I know he's a bit on the tight side, he gives off fast and loose, right? Yeah. Even though that's not even, I don't think, what he's intending to do. He's definitely splashier live than he is when he's playing in the online construct. But like, yeah, in the games where it's like, you understand, you're just, by you being in the seat, you're just making a lot.
I think the only MTT pro that has potential fast and loose aura is D-Nex. There's not there's not very many other
great example of fast and loose, by the way.
But the only one for MTTs, like, because MTTs are so technical, like every big blind is worth so much.
And you know what Daniel gets afforded that no other good reg would ever get the leeway for is his time. He gets to take time in big spots, and no one would ever complain about it because he is so fast and loose, and he gives off that reckless vibe. So he does get action in spots where maybe he doesn't deserve it. And it might contribute a lot to his win rate, you know? And I guess, like, you know, bringing this full circle to what Jesse's asking is like, I can't like pin it down to a simple 10 to-do list type of thing. But it's like, make the automatic decisions automatically first and foremost. And you know, like, add a sense of, like, make it more welcoming, I guess, in the automatic nodes, right? Like, I think a lot of us are programmed to intimidate people.
That's what tournaments are for sure.
Right. It's a lot of staring at each other and, like, you know,
like hard really, calculation, like going like this, right?
And this is ironic coming from me, but it's like a lot of the upright posture, the chest, shoulders back, chest out, you know, locking eyes, the Alex Foxen, like, staring you down type of shit. And it's like, I do tend to be a little bit more postured, and I do tend to have like resting bitch face, but it's also a matter of like my other mannerisms, right? It's like you could be well postured and like be splashing your chips all over the place and be V-pipping 60%. Nobody's going to call you into question.
Chidwick's like a great guy, but Chidwick, like, he will eat you. You know?
He's scary, man.
He will eat you.
I've seen him relaxed at a 1500 table, and I'm just like, don't tell me what my soul is speaking right now, because I know you know.
Like, you don't want to play against people that like feel like they know what you have.
You don't ever want to play against people who disincentivize you from bluffing because it's too scary. that just ruins the whole
I feel like
game.
Adamo has those vibes.
Adamo's not fast and loose though. That guy's he will eat you.
Right.
He's sharp and loose.
Yeah, sharp and loose.
They will all eat. They will all eat. Every MTT pro will eat you unless it's D-Negs.
Right.
He'll be your friend and then he'll eat you.
Yeah.
He'll be your friend.
Oh, he'll just. Well, he's vegan. You know, he'll bathe you and prepare you for someone else.
Yeah.
I miss Salaburu.
Oh my God, he was the best.
Do you know about Salaburu?
No.
Me and him
Huevos
final table the main
Ranchos.
together. Bro, Salaburu has never, ever spent more than a quarter of a second on any decision in poker. It's like unbelievable.
Dyer too. Remember the Twitter account Dyer C-Bets?
Oh, that was such a goated account. Will Dyer C-Bet, and then they just found different ways to say yes on final table.
It was so good.
That was great.
It was so good. Oh man, all right. We could stretch this off forever. Jesse, I really appreciate you coming in. I wish we could have talked a little bit more about your commentary. I thought you did a great job for what it's worth. We didn't pat you on the back enough. Shout out to Ashley too, who joined you in the booth for.
Yeah, that was actually massive because I don't know how it came off, but I know it was much better when Ashley got in there in my mind. And it was the first time I ever did it by myself, and it's tough. It feels awkward.
I'll tell you what you do a great job of for the viewer's experience is that you genuinely you genuinely enjoy what you're doing. You genuinely enjoy the game that like it's curious to you.
He's just a chill guy having a good time.
Yeah, but like there's a sense of curiosity in his commentary that I think is really appreciated by the audience.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate it. Yeah, I really like hearing that. I thought you were going to say I shut up when the table's talking because I've gotten that compliment a good bit. And I do think that's a really important thing to execute on because most live streams are tournaments and no one talks and they're boring.
Right.
And so it's like such a treat when you get like you and Markus and Rips. The banter was so good.
Right.
And,
so
Justin's amazing.
Yeah, the four of us play together like almost every day.
Yeah,
you know?
and
you're getting a home game vibe.
Yeah, and it's just so nice to get to actually listen to people have good banter at the poker table because the banter is it's magical when it's really good. You know,
right.
I don't know how to describe it more than that.
It's a podcast within a poker game. Whenever you have characters that are capable of carrying that sort of conversation.
Yeah.
And that's not to slight anybody, but it's really great you point that out because you have to remember that Brittany and Peter are only speaking Chinese.
Yeah.
And so Schwan often is in between speaking Chinese.
That's why I'm on Duolingo, bro. Got 77 days.
We're going to turn you into VIP sooner than later.
I'm going to try to get in these games I can never get in.
All right.
Wait, you're up to 77%?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I took Mandarin in middle school, but I should have just stuck with it all the way through.
Landon is so goated.
Yeah, you'd blend into that culture so easily.
Yeah. Love it.
Godzilla!
Dude, I think the cool part about Jesse is that like nobody's really aware about like what's going on, but it's cool to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think as the audience, like if you hear a commentator try to like explain to you what's going on, it's like, whoa, like this is kind of over my head. But if the person that's supposed to be the authority is like, man, like this is interesting, like maybe he's got something here that I don't know. It's like, okay, like I don't know everything and I don't need to know everything, but I can still enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying is that you took a level of curiosity to a very strange dynamic that I think the audience can really appreciate because like just being told, well, this is the way that you're supposed to play this sort of Squid Game it's kind of insulting because
or like this is a bad C-bet or like this is a bad like critiquing. It's like, hey man, like we're just here to watch some things happen.
Yeah, like we broke the game for a reason. Let it be broken, you know? And I think that your commentary reflected that really well.
Are you doing commentary again today?
I am. I'll be doing commentary today, tomorrow, and then probably day 4 and day 5 of the Prime as well.
You kind of look like the chill guy.
I was saying, he's just a chill guy.
No, like he legitimately embodies the chill guy.
I know. He's just a chill guy. So great. You're not playing the Prime?
Can you guys just tell me a lot more about what I do right? This is so nice.
Like you rubbing your nipples right now is very off-putting.
You're not playing the Prime?
What's that?
You're not playing the Prime?
I day ones are all during these cash games, so I don't think I can physically play the Prime. So I'm just gonna.
Dirty.
It's all good. I have a piece of someone who bagged 22 starting stacks.
Hell yeah, brother.
Chilling.
Pat, yeah, dude. Shout out to Pat.
I'll be hanging out.
Yeah.
And sweating that, you know.
Hoping that guy wins.
That's the play right there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just a chill guy, action buyer, commentator, Magic the Gathering enjoyer.
Definitely a Magic the Gathering enjoyer. I was so happy to find a text at 8 a.m. from Landon about how much he's liking the drafts.
Dude, I'm back in. I gotta talk to E.
All right, we have to end this show.
This is how they feel at sports ball.
It fell off. All right.
You guys can keep complimenting me if you want.
A new set came out. This is a big deal.
Okay, we're going to anchor the show with the Jesse compliments and get the fuck out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys appreciate this. We'll have more to discuss regarding the WPT cash game over the next few days. We'll also be paying attention to Triton as well as the Prime as it plays itself down to the final table, the 5 million free roll when it comes out, as well as the 10K. I guess there's no guarantee this year.
Hey man, Jesse and I might start streaming.
Who knows? Jesse and Landon might start streaming.
Let's do Magic the Gathering.
The Chill Guy stream, if you guys will.
Goodness.
We'll be back, I believe,
That's my dream.
11 a.m. again tomorrow and probably the rest of this week. So be sure to set your alarms, click that bell. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Later, squad.
Peace.